I used to ask my students, like, what do you want to do? And they'd be like, office worker. Every time, office worker. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, and we're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Donaldson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing?
Howdy. Who are you pointing at?
I'm pointing to you, Pete.
Pointing for crying out loud. Hello, yes, this is the Abroad in Japan podcast. Chris, I want to go to Japan and have the McDonald's butterscotch pie.
Whoa,
it's a
that sounds
butterscotch pie. Instead of the apple pie and the mince pie and custard pie you occasionally get at Christmas in the UK, there's a delicious butterscotch pie.
Shit, that sounds pretty... Only last week's episode did I say that I'm cutting down sugar for 2024.
Yeah.
That might be going out the window pretty fast.
You simply I don't know what time it is there in Japan, and to be quite frank, I don't bloody care. You need, as soon as you click stop, as soon as you close down the browser window and flap down your laptop, you need to be putting your little trainers on and getting your feet on the streets to your nearest McDonald's to pick up a delicious butterscotch pie. And butterscotch, I don't think is a thing that's really familiar to Japanese populace, and so I think McDonald's have spent quite a lot of time on television trying to explain butterscotch to the Japanese. I guess, like, wordage-wise, I know what butterscotch tastes like. It's like a Werther's Original if you're from Britain. But I don't really know what it is. Like a caramelly, fudgy, toffee kind of flavour, I suppose. It's just a caramel and butter,
dream.
I suppose, isn't it?
Oh, it's so good though,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, it's just
It
like
is very nice.
sweet
But I mean,
butter.
yeah.
Caramel, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. Okay.
But the Japanese aren't really familiar with butterscotch, but they are now because
They should be.
the McDonald's pie is now butterscotch. And like that's the thing about, like, the Americans get all the flavors of everything. Like they get there's this you walk into like any kind of shop and there are 53 different kinds of pop soda. Here we get about 3. We get maybe 3 Cokes, a couple of Sprites, and because of the sugar tax, you can't buy full fat anything anymore, and everything's sugar free. Try to buy some lemonade to make some delicious Christmas snowballs over Christmas. Couldn't find any. Can't find any proper sugary lemonade anymore.
I remember with America, the first time I went there when I was a kid, the first thing I noticed was how many flavours of Skittles there were. Because in the UK,
Yeah.
it was like, you get one flavour. In America, it was like, all the flavours. There's 10 flavours
All
of
the
Skittles.
flavors.
Oh, my God.
You like flavors? We got all of them.
Oh, my God. I don't know if you saw it. One of the most recent episodes of Journey Across Japan, I had to do an American accent for the whole day. And Charlotte had to do a
Right.
British accent. You got to watch that.
Yes.
Charlotte
Yeah. I mean,
is good. Well, in a shit way. It's so funny.
yeah,
Charlotte's
I love you,
accent.
Chris, but your accents are worse than mine. They are atrocious in every.
Tim,
You do a good
no.
American Pete. But that's all about his kind of.
I can do an alright American
the way he
accent.
delivers things.
I can do it, but not that day. I was very cold. I was very tired.
Right.
I've been on the road for like
Okay.
3 weeks.
I'm very cold. I'm very tired. I need to go to bed.
And I had a cold, so I was even more nasally
I got
than
a
usual.
cold. I need some pseudoephedrine. This is illegal in my country. I think you can make crank out of it.
Charlotte stole the show on that one. Charlotte stole the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that was quite an episode.
That was
But,
arduous. I mean, you do have the power not to film these things. I mean, you pretend like this isn't very much your entire raison d'etre to embarrass yourself in front of a lot of people.
I mean, I actually thought the episode wouldn't do that well because I thought people would bail at the sort of awkward cringiness of it all. And actually, it's done really well. It's been one of the best performing episodes of late, and it's done really well.
Wow.
People really enjoyed it
Okay.
and were sort of besotted with Charlotte's weird accent, where it was like Emma Bunton, if someone had cut Emma Bunton's tongue out. That was the closest description, I think. You've met Emma Bunton, right?
What a graphic image. I've
You've
met
met Emma
Emma
Bunton.
Bunton. Yeah, she's a tiny
Just-
little girl. Tiny little girl.
nice?
Whenever people of our vintage, when we were kids, would express a particular interest in a Spice Girl, you know,
She was the best one. She was the best one. Come on.
Exactly. I just sort of think there's something wrong with them a bit. I just think, why did you go for the baby one? So I'm just saying.
No.
I know you were a teenager. I know you were a child yourself, but I just sort of go, What's that about then? Why are you going for the baby one?
She was the cute one. Everyone else
She was the cute
was a
one.
bit scary and loud and annoying.
You're scared. What's wrong with sexuality, Chris? Why are you scared of strong women? Why do you want the babies? Rubbish.
Not strong,
But that
just
was what I thought
loud.
at the time. I was like, yeah. I don't know.
All right. Who was your favourite Spice Girl then? Clever
Jerry, because she was womanly.
Jerry was kind of cool. Yeah, she was kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
Till she left the band. I'll never get over
She
that.
left the band. Did she leave first?
She did.
She did leave first, didn't she? Yeah. Oh, no. Was it not Posh Spice? I thought Posh Spice left.
No, it was Jerry. Jerry.
Interesting.
I was gutted.
Interesting.
I was
Okay.
like 8,
Right.
7, 8 at the time. And I liked the Spice Girls for whatever reason. I think they're on the radio a lot, and that was the first thing I heard.
Right.
And I was very sad when the party was
I know.
over.
The thing that gets me is that, like, you know, I think even Jerry must have been, even the Spice Girls, they must have known, like, this is gonna, nothing's as good as being in the Spice Girls. Surely, no matter what I do, this never works. This never works.
I thought you were going to tie it into. I thought even the Spice Girls would like the McDonald's butterscotch pie. I thought you were going to do some sort of weird segue there. I was expecting something weird, bizarre segue. Yes, I.
It's like a member of the new power generation going, I can't be asked to hang out with Prince. I can't be asked. I'll go out on my own. Oh, I'm not as talented as Prince. Oh dear. Oh no.
Oh, man.
Never mind.
My God. Well, what's our story of the week? We got a listener story, Pete. You're going to do it this week. Take it away.
I'm going to bash it through because it is filthy. And I like filth. I like filth. You put me in a filthy cave full of grot. Full of pornography, Chris. I'm there. Hello, Chris and Pete. I'm Jared from Denver, Colorado. This summer I took a summer semester abroad anthropology course in Japan. At 34 years, it was my first time visiting Japan, and as part of my course there, it involved studying underground music scenes. So I was excited to check out the punk rock scene there. And if you've never sort of experienced like a punk band in Japan, oh my God, what an experience. They're just into it, man. It's just like, it's like goddamn CBGBs, like 1979. It's like just such good work there. Anyway, they were searching out this from listener Jared. Basically, found a Tokyo venue, Heaven's Door, kept cropping up in all of the reviews from back in the day. So, in my second night in Japan, says Jared, I took the train to Sangenjaya with a young classmate of mine. He recently turned 21 and had never been to a musical performance in his life and wanted to come along. And takes them to a punk show. They're crazy. I was expecting a rock show, but the first woman on stage had no instruments, instead picking up a microphone and playing karaoke tracks on a small boombox. I felt maybe I'd stumbled into an Underground Idol concert or some kind of open mic night. Still, at this point, it wasn't too weird. That was until the girl proceeded to take her blouse off while singing her second song. By the third song, she'd taken off all of her clothes and said she was going to give out Valentine's Day chocolate to the crowd. Despite the shock of what happened, the atmosphere was still rather happy, so we both decided to stay and see what acts followed and where it went from there. Multiple other girls took the stage, each doing increasingly lewd acts. At one point, the girls on stage pointed to my classmate and asked him his name, to which he replied Christian. The girl laughed, thinking he said Christian, and hopped off the stage to approach him with a very large, and our producer David has redacted, imagine what you could approach a man with, or a woman with. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's long. It's a thing. I was starting to think we'd gone to some kind of underground fetish show instead of a concert, but then the next performer was more traditional, a girl playing an acoustic guitar. Thank the Lord for that. The headlining band, Baidoku, played energetic punk music, but eventually they also stripped down. The show ended with a wild finale involving a flashlight swinging drummer and a naked singer running through the crowd. To say it was the wildest show I have ever been to would be an understatement, and to this day, I'm not really sure what to make of the whole thing. I bought some merchandise. I bought some merchandise as souvenirs, including a DVD, buttons, stickers, and an art print. I even chatted with some of the performers and took some photos of them. It was an adventure to remember, and I've attached a few safe pictures for you to see. Jared, we can't show any of the pictures. We can't read half of the email as delivered. There was a full unredacted email delivered by David as well. It gets even more crazy than that. We can't talk about it on the podcast, but it was pretty filthy stuff anyway. And, have you ever sort of been to like a gig or a show or been to a place that gets a bit weirder than you were kind of expecting in Japan? Because I always think there's always the chance, Chris.
I mean, that was the longest story I think we've ever had. And I'm not really sure
But
what,
I mean, you go
what we
in to
learned
watch
from this
you go
story.
in to watch. Well, you go in to watch a punk rock show. Everyone gets naked. They're chasing each other around with adult equipment, and then an actual punk show starts properly. And like I think, punk by its very nature is unpredictable. People trying to shock and astound and stuff like that. But this sounds like absolutely insane stuff.
It's like a night out, one of your nights out at Bar Rockaholic, isn't it?
One of my nights out, innit? Yeah, I mean, like, good God. But yeah, it's there was the unredacted emails was pretty spicy, and I'm a little bit annoyed that producer David didn't include the OneDrive link that that Jared included with the pictures. For crying out loud, David. For crying out loud.
I mean, the closest thing I have to this is going out with teachers and watching them get drunk and do awful things. I saw some really weird shit when they were drunk. Sometimes they got naked and ran around at these like work parties. You saw like the most stern teacher just jumping up and down on a sofa at a karaoke place like a maniac, or just doing weird stuff. Like, but I don't know if this is just maybe that's more a statement on the alcoholic power on Japanese folks, or certainly the teachers I work with. But yeah.
There's like I remember when I was in Korea and we went to Jeju, the little island off the coast, like beautiful, stunning little island. We went to what we thought was it was a nightclub. It was a big nightclub, but it was like the biggest place I've ever been to. It's a massive hall, and we were we thought it was just a normal nightclub, but it was a Tuesday night, so obviously nothing's really happening. But like this massive stage, this DJ sort of came down. Like it was like Las Vegas or something on a big like tray and started DJing and stuff. And then people go up. And they have this tradition, I think, where if people are interested in you to have a chat to, as nightclubs are, the woman kind of gets dragged off by like staff, I think, to join certain groups, I think. And it's all part of it. And we were just watching it, we're going, this looks weird and bad and strange, and I think like stuff like that, like things just don't translate. I think in many ways. So that kind of culture. But yeah, you're right. I think Japanese culture is very slapsticky, and they love getting Billy Bollocks.
Well, certainly the colleagues I work with did. I don't know why.
Yeah,
maybe just some lads. I don't know. But anyway, did you know? According to a Japanese survey done amongst high school students, it always seems to go back to school somehow, doesn't it? It's always school.
Yeah.
Apparently, Japanese high school students believe being rich is impossible in Japan, which is very much in stark contrast to America. People believe they can do anything. England, UK, guess we're in the middle of the road. I feel like in America, you feel like you can do anything. And I kind of like the American way of thinking. In the UK, if you have a dream, you get swatted down. And in Japan, they just don't really have dreams at all. I used to ask my students, like, what do you want to do? And they'd be like, office worker. Every time, office worker. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And you ask that to like American students, oh, no, the president, I want to be an astronaut, a lawyer, I want to be It's an interesting aspect of the culture, but they believe, apparently, to become rich is probably impossible. 600 first to third year high school students were surveyed, and when asked if they think they can actually become rich, only 5% of respondents answered they really think so, while 15.2% said they think so to a certain extent. They were also asked how much they would need to earn a year to consider themselves rich, and the most common answer was $70,000, about £55,000. And that's, I mean, it's kind of sad, isn't it? I get social mobility in Japan is definitely a bad thing, big issue. Like people just feel like they can't. Yeah. Once you've learned something, they feel like they just can't switch over to any other career.
Can't sort of break out. Yeah. I mean, I would say that I'm kind of glad that the kids don't feel the same pressure that I imagine young Western kids do. Bearing in mind their entire world, they are kind of like bombarded by images of young people buying But
Yeah, I guess so.
stuff,
Yeah,
and,
that's a fair point.
I mean, so there's a lot. Like, we genuinely think that, like, people genuinely think that I'm going to be a millionaire. It's like, no one's a millionaire. Just no one is a millionaire. Like people just genuinely think they're gonna break out and they'll do their blooming Amazon drop shipping company or their app or whatever, and it just doesn't happen for 99.99999% of the people. I mean, that's just the way it is, and
a lot of broken dreams.
And I'm almost glad that kids over there don't have that pressure. They obviously have.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, to be
school
honest.
bullying and
yeah. I mean, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Because I mean, like me growing up, I always sort of look at the kid like my partner's nephew, I think, niece and nephew. They're kind of growing up in a world where, like, he's down the gym all the time, and he's like 19. And he's just left school, and he's just constantly down the gym, and he's like, he's a stick of a lad, but he's he's starting to get Mr. Pump Up and stuff, and like body image for men, obviously body image for women has always been there, but like, and maybe redressing that balance is probably a good thing, but like, and maybe it'll settle down eventually, but like the pressure of like kids having fucking abs and stuff like seems absolutely like the to have, you've got to be muscular and you've got to be this and you've got to be driving the right cars, and you're driving the right cars at such a young age and stuff. It's your it's your.
Guess Japan's equivalent is like, you can't be overweight, right? There's the pressure of not being overweight in Japan.
Yeah,
which
but
I don't think
it's necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily as bad though, is it? It's not necessarily. I mean, they a lot of people have quite sedentary kind of lifestyles, but I just think that
you're right though.
There's not like pressure to work that hard and also to feel like a failure if you haven't got a Range Rover or I don't know what Land Rover. What do people buy? They seem to have them on lease. They never buy them. They're all on bloody lease anyway. They have that pressure to have the nice car and the lifestyle and the holidays to Dubai and all of that crap, man. It's just rubbish.
Well, I suppose expectation, right? I think maybe a lot of anxiety and a lot of the bad stuff is rooted in sort of in the West expectations we have for ourselves because of such characters, rich folks flaunting their wealth, driving fast cars, being douchebags.
Yeah,
I think we expect that for ourselves. When we don't get there, it all leads downhill. Like, I think a lot of the negative emotions people feel is often because their reality is very different to what they expected from it. So maybe
I might become like an Andrew Tate figure.
I think you should.
Teaching the kids how to teaching the kids to
God.
you don't need a Toyota, you don't need a Bugatti, a Veyron. What you need is to spend £2,000 on importing a Toyota Century that turns up at Southampton docks. It doesn't work. That's what you need to do. And then I can eventually sell it to one of the fucking idiots.
I'm ready for Pete Tate, the most ridiculous role model of the fucking century. My lord. But I do wonder. That's an interesting point, though. Students most of my students, maybe it's because it was in the countryside where dreams go to die. But most students I spoke to didn't. It was very rare to have a student who really aspired for something like what we would consider to be great,
bigger than
But then I suppose when I was
a
high school student, I guess most people didn't know what they wanted to do either. If somebody asked me, I think I just said, film director or pilot or some shit, Few students I knew knew what they wanted to do.
I don't know. I don't think I really had any idea what career I wanted.
Yeah, you did.
I like doing certain things.
Monkey man. You want to be a monkey zoo
monkey
keeper.
Man. Did not want to be a monkey zookeeper. I knew that for a fact. They'd get taken advantage of. Most every zookeeper you see is being taken advantage of because they love animals.
Is that why you
and
gave
they get
up?
Paid flip all.
Is that why you gave up on your dream of being a monkey zookeeper?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. But I mean, I feel sorry for the younger Japanese generations. Like, it's always doom and gloom with the economy and the demographics, and it must be tough being a youngster in Japan these days. The future, they don't do it. Like, Japan, stable country, great country, love it. But I think the next 20 years are going to be quite tough because of the demographics, because of the fact that such a huge proportion of the population is over 65. I just don't know how they can fix it. And even if they have immigration galore to try and fill in the numbers. Like it's just still not going to be enough. So yeah, it's tough, I think. And I think the impossible dream of being rich, yeah, I get that. I never thought I would be financially successful when I was at school. I kind of hoped I would be, but I never knew how I'd get there. And I know, obviously, I'm blessed doing this that I do right now. But I'd say my only advice is to the people I know who have actually been financially successful are very often, well, they're not the ones that are pursuing money or wealth. They're pursuing something else. And that then leads to it, maybe. I suppose that's the same for both of us in some respects. Like, we've done all right. You gave up your monkey zookeeper dreams.
Monkey dream.
Gave up your monkey dream, and you became a podcaster. First of all, a radio DJ. You know, that's pretty cool. Never thought that would happen for you, I suppose, for the longest time.
I became a performing monkey in many ways.
You did.
Someone would suggest. Yeah.
And same for me, really. But yeah, love what you do. Don't pursue money. I think that's the best advice I can give. Just love what you do, because that'll become a lot more easier. I stay up till 5 a.m. in the morning editing videos, and it's horrible, and I feel sick for days afterwards, but I enjoy it, and that's how I've stayed in the game. When the
comments come in criticising you for not buying the right kind of tent.
Yes, and it all goes downhill.
It makes it all worthwhile.
My God. We're back in just a moment, guys. We'll stories, comments and questions in the Fax Machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the Fax Machine. What have we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Dawson, fill us in.
Hello, Poddering Pete and Cantankerous Chris. I'm an amateur folklorist from Yorkshire, and I would love to know what your favourite folklore story is, or traditional ceremony, Megan. I imagine, like, Japan's filled with folklore, isn't it, and kind of ghost stories and traditional kind of tales and that. Yeah,
like, I mean, only a video, it came out last month. I went to the most haunted inn in Japan. They have the Zashiwarashi, like a young boy ghost. Boy that died 1,000 years ago, travelling around.
Oh dear!
And it's kind of like a good story though. Like in Japan, ghosts are often seen as like positive things, like good luck spirits. And that was kind of cool, like folklore like that. It said that he lives in the cupboard. This ghost boy lives in a cupboard, and if you see him, it brings good luck. Yeah, I like that. It's good.
Chris put him in there for a video.
Like Matilda, I think she gets shoved in the chokey. We got one here from Andrew. He says, hello, Chris and Pete. Chris, I'm wondering what your proximity to places like South Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, etc. Do you travel around Southeast Asia? I know it's called abroad in Japan, but you've posted videos in the UK and USA. Have I? Have I posted it? I did, didn't I? Yeah, LA. Will we see some abroad in Southeast Asia videos? Probably not anytime soon. I'm looking at doing some stuff overseas with Natsuki this year, though, so I won't rule it out. I'd like to do some stuff in Europe and North America with Natsuki, but I've never been to Southeast Asia. I would like to go to Thailand, Vietnam, and more. Whatever. And Cambodia more. And Laos. Why not?
Indonesia. Malaysia.
Throw in a cheeky bit of Malaysia and Indonesia. One last comment here from Adi Ahiru Saru, which means duck plate. Since Chris did the jet program, was it enough to pay to live off in Japan? Was the pay enough? When I convert it to British pounds, there's absolutely no way it would cover the cost of living here in the UK. I've lived in Japan for a few months before studying abroad, and I feel like it wasn't very cheap. Eating out's really good value for money, but groceries and rent seem to get quite expensive. I mean, when I first got here, the jet salary in pounds, it was about £28,000, which is pretty good starting salary. It's pretty great. And then they devalued the yen, and in 1 year it went from 28 grand to like 20 grand, and it was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. Wasn't so fun paying off his student loan with a devalued currency. Alas, living in Japan on the yen, on the jet program salary, which I think worked out to something like it must be like $2,000 a month or something. It was all right. I got by. I never really had that much money, but that's what credit cards were for. And I had the credit card, and that helped me through a little bit. But yeah, it was just about enough to break even and get by. And I was one of the lucky ones, given my apartment was subsidised, very cheap. But yeah, you get by. You can get by on a jet salary. A lot more than you can on most teachers' salaries in Japan, which are pretty low. unfortunately, for foreign English teachers. Yeah, it's either jet or go home, as far as I'm concerned. Or don't go home. Just don't come to Japan.
Don't go home.
Because I
Shoplift.
I just don't think it's going to be enough money. Jet salary was pretty favourable there, and I think to this day it's still fairly reasonable for what you have to do.
I guess you kind of get sold a bit of a dream, and I think with any dream you sort of go, oh, it'll be fine, won't it? And then you get there and you're like, oh, this isn't fine. I can't live here properly.
Exactly. And I was very there was a girl who was in the same town as me, and my accommodation cost $100 a month, right? And her accommodation was $800 a month. Whoa. Just because she got unlucky, she got the unsubsidized housing, and she was gone after a year because she just couldn't justify the massive expense and seeing like a third of her paycheck gone. So, it's amazing how luck factors into the jet program. It really does. Like where you end up, everybody's experience is different, as they say on jet. But now it is time to retire to dinner because I'm very hungry. Keep the stories, questions, comments coming into abornjapanpodcast@gmail.com. I'm off now to get a butterscotch pie thing from McDonald's that Pete's raged about. Please do. And we'll see you later on the week, guys. Do it all over again, right back here on the Abroad Japan podcast. Bye for now. Have yourselves a bloody good week. Take care.
Goodbye.